Hi, I'm Vernon Maxino, and I'm from Chicago. I was 15 years old, and I was in my sophomore year of high school. I went to a Catholic Jesuit high school, and it was one morning I was on my way to class, and I was passing by the football field and saw the guys practicing, and it was the first time in my life where I'm like, wait a minute, why am I thinking of those boys in a different way than most other people were? I thought I should be looking at the cheerleaders who are rehearsing right next to them, but I'm finding myself attached to the boys that are practicing, and I thought to myself, maybe I am gay. And that was the very first time in my life I thought about that. So that same morning, I went to scripture class. And my teacher got up to the podium and told us, today we're going to learn about Sodom and Gomorrah. And my hands shook, and I had to shake onto my desk, thinking whatever I thought that morning. It's like, maybe the thought I was gay. What do I do now? Because who do I talk to? I can't tell anybody. And then so, in college years, the drugs came into the picture. I got kicked out because my grades were failing. And I ended up moving back here to Chicago to my parents' house, getting a $7 per hour retail job, being a cashier, because that's all I was capable of doing. Because in the evenings, I was still doing drugs, and the weekends, doing drugs. And living in the basement of my parents' house, thinking that was gonna be my life. On December 30th of 2002, I went to an after-hours party. I went there like I normally do to my friend's place, just going to hang out. And one of my friends came over, and he told us, hey, guess what, guys? I have something new. It was crystal meth. But at the time, they called it Tina. So I did it, and it felt amazing. New Year's Eve was the next day, so we were going to a party at a hotel in downtown Chicago. The next night, I'd been awake for 40 hours. I hadn't slept in 40 hours because of this new drug that I just tried. And because it made me feel like Superman, I thought I could tell anybody anything. At the stroke of midnight, I jumped on the table and I told everybody, when it rang 12, guess what, everybody? I'm gay. I had spent 9 years hiding the fact that I was gay, and now I'm out. I'm out to everybody. I only used drugs at first because things were going great, but then things were not going so great. And it got to a point where I OD'd. I OD'd on crystal meth and other drugs on January 31st of 2005. And at that point, after I became so dismal in my life, I became powerless over crystal meth. I didn't care at that point if I lived or died, but I didn't want to use, but the only thing I knew what to do was used. And it got to that point where I was living with this guy here in Chicago, and I hadn't slept in 17 days, and I passed out on the couch. He proceeds to, while I was sleeping, to call my parents up in the middle of the night, demanding them to put him up in the hotel because the FBI was after him because of me. And my parents removed me from that situation and brought me back to their house. I woke up the very next day, and they brought me to treatment. At the treatment center, one of the things that the intake person said, why are you here? And I said 5 simple words: I don't want to die. I'm in there for a few days. They teach me about how to live my life, how to have safety, security, well-being. And my treatment center started telling me that I needed to start getting support groups outside of the treatment center because I was only going to be there for 4 weeks. So I started going to my support groups. And the very first when I went to start meeting other guys, I went to my first meeting, and I met 30 gay men who were not using drugs and or crystal meth. That literally shattered my thought. Maybe there is something to sobriety. Maybe there is something to what my counselors have been telling me. The capacity for me to become sober is a gift, is a God's given gift. I have a right to live. So now I've been sober for 12 years, for exactly 4,626 days. And those are 4,626 miracles. The drug addict or alcoholic, or if you don't even know you are, there are so many ways to get sober. So if you need help or you're seeking help, there is a way, there is a recovery. There are ways you can not pick up. And that's the message that I want to send out today.